today I'd like to welcome Oisín Fagan on our podcast. Oisín, it's an absolute pleasure to have you on. Former
Very nice to
professional
be here.
boxer,
Thank you very much.
and a really interesting story that we're really looking forward to delving into.
Yeah,
And your
story
nickname
about
is Gael Force. Is that correct?
yes, of course, yeah.
Deadly.
That's right. Mm,
I
Yeah.
love it. So tell us about,
GAEL, of course.
of course.
Of course.
Oisín, tell us your story. Tell us about how you got into how you first started off.
Well, I was a good footballer as a kid, and really, football was going to be my thing. And I wasn't great in school as a child. I was a bit of a messer, let's say, and myself and my pa got thrown out of school, and when we were about 17. And I didn't know what I was going to do. So I was doing litany jobs. Then I went and tried to get my apprenticeship in carpentry, and didn't like that either. So I spent about 3 years in a carpentry position, and as an apprentice, and didn't like that. And then I was playing. I played for really good sides in the as a in schoolboy leagues coming up. I'm from Tala originally, and then I moved out to Port Marnock when I was about 13, 12,
Oh,
12 and played locally for a while. Then went to Glebe North and Balbriggan, who were a Premier side when I was about 17. And then I played with St. Malachy's, who were another Premier side then when I was about
right.
18. And I played for Port Marnock. Port Marnock had a really, really good junior side. So we were in the AUL, and we were one of the top AUL sides. And I played in a junior cup final against Kerry Orchard in Talca Park, and I had a
Right.
really good game. And in the newspapers the next day there was some nice headlines about me and stuff like that. So I started collecting all the nice things papers were saying about me over the years, and send them away to American colleges. And it just so happened that there was a lead scout and a scout from Chicago, one of the colleges in Chicago, who got in touch with me after that match in Talca Park. And Leeds just said that they'd look at me for the next couple of years. But the crowd in Chicago brought me over for a trial, and for one of their for the school called Lewis University in Chicago, and did well in the in the trial game. I thought it was easy. Actually, I thought, oh, this is going to be handy enough, and they put me in their five-a-side game, and I scored loads of goals. And your man brought me into the office then later on and said, "Oh yeah, we're interested in taking you over, but it's policy of the college that we can only offer you a 3/4 scholarship." He says, "No, no." I says, "So what's that mean?" He says, "Well, you have to pay about 6 or 7 grand for the first year." I'm going, "What?" So I said, "Oh, well, you can forget about that straight off the bat." Like, and he says, "Oh, okay." He saw how disappointed I was, and he said, "Listen, we have a little group between all of us in the uh, in the different conferences, and I'll put your name out there. I'm sure you get picked up." So the following year, somebody came in from Oklahoma, from the University of Science and Arts in Oklahoma, and they asked me. I said, my first question was, I says, "Is going to be a full scholarship?" He says, "Yeah, yeah, yeah, yeah. We have all your details. Yeah, it'll be full scholarship." So I ended up going over there, and from somebody who got thrown out of school as a kid, like, and now I have to start studying, and I kind of felt that, like, after being in a litany of jobs, and I really didn't like the jobs that I was in. Oh, there has to be something better for me. So I started knuckling down, and I ended up doing well in school. Like, I got myself a degree with honors in PE, and then I had minors in political science and journalism. So I ended
Wow.
up doing well in the end, really well. But then after that, I fell on hard times. Uh, I lived in I was in and out of uh, places like with my friends. I felt so when I fell in hard times, I was staying over for an extra year. And I was going out with a girl at the time, and we were but like we were only kind of just seeing each other. It wasn't that we were. I couldn't stay over in her place. Like she lived with her parents and her family. And so every now and again I'd sleep on the couch, and then I'd sleep on some of my pals' couches, and then sometimes I'd sleep in the car. So yeah, it was pretty hard times, to be honest with you. And then I ended up basically talking to one of my Jamaican friends who was also on a scholarship with me, Alcino, big up to Alcino. He says to me, he says, "Remember we used to do a little bit of boxing training during the football season?" He says, "Yeah." He says, "You are really good." And one of my pals is a professional boxer, but I always thought that you were tougher and you were better than him. So really, because I never thought anything, because I wasn't a boxer. Like I did a little bit of training when I was about 17 or 18, and sure now I'm 20, now I'm nearly 30 at this stage, and I used to do a little bit of training with the lads then on our off times, and we just used to beat the hell off each other basically. So he says, yeah, he says, you know what you should do? You should go down to a boxing club, and if you're really stuck for money, maybe you can just get yourself a filler in, just get knocked out, and you'll get a few quid. Like I said, good idea. I ended up going down to a boxing club and saying to a guy called Buck Smith, he says, can you get me money for fighting? And he says, you just want to go pro? I says, yeah. He says, I'll fight anybody. Just get me some money. I'm struggling at the moment. And the thing is, I could have just sent the word home that I was struggling. My mum and dad would have started me out with it, like. But I just like at this time I was 30 years old, like, so this
All right.
hard going back to mommy and daddy when you're 30 years old and asking for money. Especially that I got my degree with honours and all this. So I was supposed to be on the pig's back now. I was supposed to be making money for myself. That was a hard one. But anyway, the promoter says, just so happens that I've got a fights coming up. I've got a brand new promotion company, and I'm trying to get fights now. So I'm going to put you in against this guy called Sheldon Mosey. Sheldon was a tall, rangy black dude, really good levers on him. He had a long reach, but he was my weight, so he's a little bit skinnier than me. I'm short and stocky, whereas he was tall and long. And it's better to be tall and long in professional boxing, because you can stay away. You can gauge the range and stuff like that. Uh,
And
so
you were in
for
the
me,
lightweight. Are you a lightweight division? Is that what you were boxing? You
yeah,
lightweight.
my well, the most prominent weight that I was lightweight. I won my Irish title at lightweight, and I won a North American state title at light welter. So it was between nine and 10 stone, like around that. They were my weights. But there was only once I went down to super feather, which was 9'4", and once I went up to welterweight, which is 10'7". So, but everything else was between light welter and lightweight. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
So yeah. So you and Sheldon ended up in your first pro fight. This was your first
First
pro
pro
fight.
fight, yeah, and it was his first pro fight too, but he had amateur fights before that, so he was more experienced, I suppose. So we ended up fighting, and I remember just thinking to myself, like, I guess this is a big chance, so I'm just gonna keep on punching, and not, I'm not gonna be, after the fight, I'm not gonna say that I didn't give it my all. So you could see that he was a better boxer than me, because he was throwing his jab, and he was getting out of the way, and he was kind of using his movement. But I was just like basically a mad Irishman, and just kept on coming forward and throwing big loopy shots. And they were amateurish, because I didn't really know what I was doing, because I was only 6 weeks training at the time properly. Uh, and but I could see in his face that he didn't understand why I just kept on coming at him, because he was really accurate, and he was keeping me at bay, and but I just kept on getting in his face, getting in his face, getting in his face, and like that was my forte. I was very, very tough and very, very fit, so I could punch millions of times. You know what I mean? Like, so anyway, the last round, I remember hitting him an overhand right, and I saw his legs buckle, and I just kept on punching. I wouldn't stop punching, and the referee came in and stopped the fight. So after the first fight, like I had a perfect record, one fight, one win, one knockout, and ended up walking down to the dressing room and getting signed an autographs. And this was really brand new to me, you know. So
Yeah.
I ended up meeting a principal of a school called Phil Cunningham. Big ups, Phil, right? And he says to me, he says, "I believe you're a qualified school teacher." I knew Phil through my ex girlfriend at the time, and I says, "Yeah." And so he knew about me, but like he says, "Now that you're qualified, do you fancy coming in for an interview?" Because he was a principal of an inner city school in Oklahoma City. And I says, "Yeah, so I'd love that." Yeah, so I went in and got the job. I was delighted with myself. So for the
Brilliant.
next few years, I was a teacher by day and fighter by night. And most of my kids were Latino kids, so they loved me for the football and for the boxing. So I was on cloud nine. It was brilliant, you know.
It was a win-win. And then after that first fight, like how long was the next one?
Mm.
Was there always a plan? Did the manager come in and say that was a good fight? We'll set you up with another one. Was that always the
Yeah,
plan?
yeah, it went that way. Uh, for me, I was still I still had a few months to start. Actually, it was about another. I think my very first fight was in February of 2003. I think so. I think the next school year started in the autumn, so I wasn't picked to actually go back to actually start working then till September. I think it was. So I had another 6 months kind of on the breadline, you know. So I was doing terrible jobs, like was going door to door selling toys and mad
Jeez.
stuff, you know. But I had to train every day regardless, you know. So that was kind of the way it went. But yeah, that we I ended up persevering and that. But the main thing was to get a few quid and my friends and the people I hung around with now were always very good. But it was important for me not to take the piss, like as in I didn't want to stay in some of these on somebody's couch for forever. Like so, I might spend a night or two in one place, go to another place for a little while, and then when I started getting a couple of jobs, then I was set for a little while. I could get myself a little hotel room or something like that. You know, but it was grand. But it was hard at the time. For about 6 months there, I didn't know what I was going to do. Really stressful. I wasn't sure what was gonna happen. But then started getting regularly getting fights because the promoter book was new to his promotion game. He wanted to get fights every 6 or 8 weeks, which suited me fine. Like for my first fight, I got $200. Like I mean, and so for the next couple of fights after that, I just got $200. Obviously, it was great for a couple of nights, but that was about it, you know.
Yeah.
But so that was that's how I rolled. Yeah.
So when you got your first fight and they were looking at more, what was your training schedule like? Did you become almost train like a pro boxer then, or were you just sort of just going to the gym, or it was a full on? This is what we have to do.
Now, because the gym wasn't full of professionals, and like of course the more fights I got into, and the more I became known in boxing circles, then I found other guys who wanted to take me really seriously. Like at one stage, it was kind of at the start, it was just me training because I needed to. I I always had like I'm training even now today. I've been training every day for about 32 years now, right? And it sounds mad. It is mad. I understand that not everybody can do that, but like, and then I probably can count on my fingers and toes the amount of days I haven't trained in 32 years. So
Wow.
it's that's that in itself in itself is crazy. But so, but even though even when I wasn't thinking about being a professional boxer or anything like that. I was training even on my football scholarship before that. So I started doing that when I was about 18 or so, training all the time. So it was something that just never left me, and therefore only I just used to go up to the boxing club, maybe 3 or 4 times a week, and then on the off times I'd be out for runs myself or doing my shadow boxing myself and that kind of stuff, you know. So once I did back in the day, once I did an hour and a half a day, I'd be happy enough. And sometimes even now I'm kind of like 3 and 4 hours a day after work, you know. So
Right.
it's tough, but it keeps my mind right, you know. Instead of be off on mental
Absolutely.
now, I didn't do it. You know?
Yeah, it's brilliant. So, and then did you get coached then? When did you get like a coach that took you on as a pro boxer and gave you a pro workout and
Yeah. Well, my first coach was Steve Thomason. He was a friend of mine, Irish American dude from Oklahoma, and he was a really good trainer. Book trained me a little bit himself because he's an excellent fighter back in the day. He fought Chavez Senior back in the day. He fought Margarito. And he was in the Guinness Book of Records for the most wins in a row. He had about 160 wins in a row. Like now he fought some of the greatest, like I said, Chavez and those kind of guys. But he also fought road sweepers, you know. So, but he was in an era that he was promoted by Sean O'Grady's dad, and Sean O'Grady's dad was a real competent promoter, and he knew how to get his young fellas wins just so that they can get on the level, and then they get big fights. That's kind of the way it works, you know. Like you do well at the start, and you build your record to a certain amount, and then you might get a big one at the end of your career, and that's what you're looking for. You're looking for if you're like obviously everybody wants to be a world champion, but only very few do, you know. So
yeah.
so what you're trying to do as a young fighter is to build your record to like usually the magic number is about 20, you know. But like because I was so new to the game and all that, I only had funny enough I had my fifth fight in the MGM Grand in Las Vegas, and
Wow.
that was against Julio Cesar Chavez. And I most people thought I won that fight, but his dad brought him into the ring. It was the first time Chavez fought in Vegas, and it was on the card of an Eric Morales fight, who's an amazing boxer. He was a former world champion himself, and his dad brought him into the ring and this kind of stuff. So all the crowd was with him. Everybody was just looking to see how what Chavez was going to do, and I felt I was a bit too aggressive for him. I made a silly mistake in that fight that I threw an uppercut from outside and had me with a backhand. My fist touched the ground, and that changes a fight, changes the rules or the scoring in boxing from a 10-9 round to me because I was winning that round. It was 10-8 round to him, and that's what changed all the scores in the end. And I lost by the 1 point in one of the cards and 2 points in somebody else's card. But everybody else says, with the strength of that fight, I won that fight. Like everybody knows I won that fight. Well, you know, it's not on paper, so that was what went down on paper.
And what's it
Him
like
winning.
when you go to the MGM to fight Chavez? I'm assuming your first fights were small crowds, and now you head into this big arena. Like, how many people was there, screaming and
We had
shouting?
20,000 people there. Yeah, 20,000 people in the MGM Grand, and oh, it's crazy looking because yeah, that was when I kind of felt, whoa, this is brand new to me, you know. But for my first few fights, I actually had a good following because most of the old football team that I used to play for in Oklahoma and all the college used to come and get buses down to watch me fight. So the promoter knew that I was good to get in the crowd and stuff like that. But like now this is a totally different level, you know. So
Like,
ended up
what's your headspace when you walk into that ring with 20,000 people? Like, what? How
yeah.
does that feel? I mean, how did your game plan? Did it change your game plan? Did it knock you out? Did it make you feel nervous? Or
Um, you always have nerves, and even my first fight, I had nerves. Well, first fight, I was very nervous. But even my last fight, I was very nervous. Like it's something that I guess if you don't have nerves, then you don't feel like you're ready anyway. So I'm happy with nerves once it's not once you're not wasting nervous energy. Now I
Mm.
had to learn not to waste nervous energy, but on the as we went along. Uh, and even with my fighting style, I was very, very aggressive. So I'd always have my hands up very high and all this tension in my shoulders and my back of my neck and my back and stuff like that was going. And that these are the first few fights are always 4 round fights until you get a little bit more experience and you go from 6 to 8 to 10 and 12 if you're lucky because you fight for titles. But the first 4 rounds and I'd be throwing shots. I was going, how does anybody do this for 12 rounds? And I couldn't understand it in my own head. And then somebody said, one of my trainers, I think it was, maybe it was Steve Thomason or maybe it was Eddie Autry or Gray, said to me, oh, you have to relax your shoulders. This is, but how do you relax your shoulders when you have your hands up high? And you only realize this when you try it, but you can relax yourself. So if I'm in range to fight, to get punched or to punch myself, that's when I have to keep my hands up high. If I'm out of range, that's when I can loosen up and stuff like that. And it's very important for a fighter to know that. Most lads who are seasoned boxers who came up since they were 7 or 8 years old and who fought in the amateurs and all that would kind of just learn how to do that. But it took me like my first 8 or 10 fights to learn how to actually relax myself. And then because I consider myself extremely fit, and I was going, how do people do 12 rounds? I can't understand that. Like, and only later on I'm thinking, oh, now I can relax on the outside. When I get inside, then I'm whacking. That was kind of the way it was with that.
You got your flow, yeah, and it's very unusual. I mean, no amateur, no boxing, just straight in
Yeah, yeah,
like that's
yeah, yeah, yeah.
that's a mindset more than anything as well, isn't it?
Yeah. It's true. But I was always really tough. Like when I played football, though, I wasn't killer tough until I was about 17 or 18. I only started getting really stuck in. In fact, I always put that me not being a professional boxer or professional footballer because when any scouts that came over to watch me always used to lend the excuse that I was too small, and usually that was just code for I never got stuck in, and I used to only rely on my silky skills on the ball. I was really skillful. I was one of these lads in and out of people like dribbling and all that. But I never leave the boot in, and only then, maybe when I was about 17 or 18, I started leaving the boot in, and then I became just a different person. Then man, just took me a lot of time to mature into the footballer I wanted to be. But then my knees kind of gave in, but lucky enough, it was after my scholarship, but I only felt the effects of the bad knees then when I was around 28 when I was finishing up my football scholarship. So that's kind of
And
the
did
way
the
it went.
knees affect you when you were boxing?
No, no, because you know the way, right? So you're running as fast as you can as a footballer. You're running as fast as you can, and then the ball goes the other way, and you're jamming down on the ground and twisting and going the other way. I had no cartilage in my knees hardly at all. But
Right.
when you're boxing now, obviously you still there's a lot of hip movement and knee movement in boxing. But when you're coming down here, it's only from a stationary position that you're throwing the shot. You're not actually running at full pace and then having to go the other way at full pace. So that's it. It just worked out well for me, thank God.
Brilliant. Then just
Yeah,
the other thing
yeah,
to touch on is like I know in today's world we're all about the nutrition and you have a pro workout and you have to do this. What was it like for you when you first started off, like diet wise? Was there such a thing as nutrition back then or
yeah. Diet wise, certainly not for my first 10 or 12 or 14 fights did I give a shit about my diet. I, in fact, when I was a footballer, I always used to hang around at around 10 and 3/4 stone. What's that in kilos? About 10 and 3/4 would be about 67 or 68 kilos, right? And I was that since I was about in my 20s, I was about 60, 67, 68 kilos, right? And then when I had to make weight, then it was, of course, I talked to somebody. I had a bit of knowledge myself because I'd gone through my PE degree as well. So nutrition would have been something in my PE degree that I had to get into as well. Back in the day, the main stuff was to eat very small handfuls of stuff, uh, 5 and 6 and 7 times a day, so that you get your metabolism going really, really quickly, and keep it going, and then you're losing weight on the backside of that. But nowadays, it seems like it's you try. Now, I don't know if this is a sports thing or just in general, but now they say if you can curtail your eating to a small window of maybe 6 hours a day, you might have 2 or 3 meals within the 6 hours. Then they say that you leave like 16 hours maybe fallow, where you're not touching anything. They're saying that that's what makes you, well, that make you lose weight. Now, it was actually, there's a little bit controversial. Like, some people think that it's loads of meals all the way through the day, kind of grazing like, and other people think that no, you should only have a set time and only eat once or twice a day. Like, so I don't really know what's the best thing. And nowadays, I'm doing the once or twice a day within that little small period. But it worked for me when I did the 5 and 6 times a day, as I was uh, fighting, and a lot of the times it'd be stuff like forget the carbs kind of thing. Be only really looking into eating. Just in the back of my mind, if I ever think of me making weight, it was chicken and broccoli, chicken and broccoli, chicken and broccoli. That was kind of it. Hardly any carbs, it's just chicken and broccoli. Like, that was gonna turn into a fucking chicken, man.
And did you have to? Were you lucky enough that you could cut weight? So I know a lot of people who compete, getting into the saunas and things like that to actually cut
Mm.
weight, or were you generally
I,
close to that
I
time?
was I always stayed on weight. When I say stay on weight, I never got big and fat like, say, the Ricky Hatton did. Like, he used to put on 5 and 6 stone, like, and then lose it. That was his thing. But I guess it was a consummate professional. Because I trained every day. I always stayed on the level. Maybe it was about 5 or 6 pounds over, which is like a kilo or two, and then I wouldn't have to work too hard to be on weight. Now, you'd have to work so I'd be working really hard anyway, because that's just how I rolled. So that's so it was a good thing that I didn't have to kill myself to lose the weight. But then on the other hand, then you're kind of thinking, if I needed to lose more weight, then I would have worked harder. But that wasn't true with me, because I worked hard every single day. So it's not that wasn't something that I was upset with, because I like being on weight, and never having to drastically cut. There was once or twice I had to go to saunas and stuff like that, but there was nothing crazy. I do remember once or twice saunas and sweatsuits, and doing. I think I missed weight twice, and that's what I had to do both times. Yeah, with
Great.
saunas and that kind of stuff, and sweatsuits, and so you're losing water weight basically more than that else.
And did you were all of your fights in the US, or did you do any here in Ireland?
I fought. So when my Irish fighting over here, of course, so they heard about me then. Over here, I used to. Brian Peters was the promoter over here, who used to look after Bernard Dunn, and he looks after Katie Taylor now. But he got word that, and was shout out to Tomas. Tomas Rowan, who used to be the owner of the IrishBoxing.com website, and so he used to keep in touch with me all the time. He used to tell Brian Pierce as well as a lad over in Oklahoma who's doing this thing at the moment. Maybe you want to bring him back. He's got a good following, you know. So Brian got in touch with me, and and well, he came over and knocked the fella out then in a round. Uh, After about my 20th, or no, that we 18th fight or something like that. And he said, "Well, you'll be next in line for an Irish title." I was going, "Great, you know." So ended up then coming over and fighting in the National Stadium on a Bernard Dunn uh, title fight card, and I fought a guy called Jeff Thomas, who was a really competent boxer from. He was from the UK, but he had Irish roots, so that qualified him to be in for an Irish title as well. And so I fought him in 2006, and it was live on RTE, and Jimmy McGee was the commentator,
Brilliant.
and so I ended up knocking him down in the fifth round with a body shot, and he came back stronger than ever. Then after that, and then but I guess it was just too tough and too fit for him, and I just kept on plowing away, and I ended up stopping him in the seventh round. Referee came in, stopped the fight, and that was me, Irish champion in 2006. That was a highlight in my career. You know, one of the highlights of my career. Yeah, was a bit with an Irish title. You
Just that's amazing. And you would have been on the same bill as Bernard Dunn. I remember going to see him
know.
fight one of his
Yeah,
fights.
I probably fought the night that you were there because
Oh,
I fought maybe on four or five times on Brandon's cards. Yeah,
really? Wow. And
yeah.
he was based here, wasn't
Who'd
he?
you go? Who'd you go and see him fight? Do you
Um,
remember? I
I'm
know it's
just
it.
trying to think. I think he won. I remember he won it anyway. He's
Mm,
just
yeah, yeah. Back in those days, I was myself and Jim Rock would have been the next two in line to Bernard maybe.
right.
But yeah, that was kind of the
Was
way it was.
Bernard in
Yeah,
the same? Was he in the same division as you? He was
oh,
weight
he's
division.
tiny. Yeah, tiny as in he's probably an inch taller than me, but he's much skinnier than me, you know. So he would have been, was he, yeah, super bantam or no, I don't yeah, featherweight or somewhere like that. He would have been around only eight and three quarters and nine stone, like so. He's like tiny as in physically tiny, but he's quite tall for the size of him, you know.
And were you in the same? Is that the same era as like Wayne McCullough would have been? Would you have come across him? And
No, no, oh yeah, well, no, in fairness, Wayne was really good. Wayne and Cheryl and Noni, they're the McCullough family. They were living in Vegas, and Wayne came down to meet me after I fought Chavez. And so me and Wayne, that was the first time now I met Wayne, but he was a hero of mine as I was growing up. Now, even though I was a football only fella back in the day, I always used to have a look into the box because I liked boxing and I liked boxing as a sport. And of course, Wayne was an absolute hero. But after so I won my first three fights. I lost my fourth, uh, and won my fifth and lost my sixth in Vegas that time. So I was kind of getting a bit of a sour taste. I'm after losing a couple now. Maybe I'm not good enough and all this kind of stuff. But Wayne invited me up for sparring sessions in Vegas in his house. He had a ring down in the basement, and it was surreal actually. He knew I was disappointed after one of my fights, and he said, "Come on down, so we get a bit of training in, and you can get your head out of the game, you know, and just."
yeah,
Uh, focused. I said, thanks very much. So I came down and let me stay with him and his family. They're great people. And I remember being in the gym, his gym, and I'm there looking into the gym, who's sparring each other, but only Wayne and Kevin Kelly. I don't know if you remember Kevin Kelly. He fought Prince Nassim, and they knocked did he knock Prince down? I think he did. But so then Wayne says, "Come on, you wanna go as well?" So I popped up. There's only three of us in the gym. Like it's crazy.
Wow.
It's just surreal to me because there's two heroes of mine knocking the shite out of each other. And then I went in and finished the job. Like I was given and taken like as it was just nuts. Yeah, so I did about 4 rounds with Kevin, about 4 rounds with Wayne as well. It was a brilliant
Wow.
experience. So yeah, it was really yeah happy because that was very early in my career as well. It was only after about 7, 8 fights, So it was really nice of Wayne to ask me up,
Absolutely. And that gave you the buzz to carry on then and know you're going in the right
Exactly.
direction.
Yes. Yeah.
Did you go for any did you manage to get to a world title, or was that on the cards, or was that ever talked about?
I fought for a minor world title. I fought 12 rounds three times. Uh, so their world title rounds. They call them the championship rounds. Anything 12 rounds or so are championship rounds. So I fought for something like I think it was an IBF uh, title against that Goodwin guy, and that went to 12 rounds. But I lost that in England, and like, that was it was like thought I may have if it was anywhere if it was in Ireland maybe I would have won that one, but that was a minor world title, so it wasn't one of the so there's four big ones: an IBO, WBA, WBC, and IBF. But this was uh, a WBF, I think it was, or something like that. Anyway, so that was it's on the lower side. And they fought Eddie Hyland for over 12 for um, another minor world title as well, and that was in Tallaght Stadium, and that won fight of the year uh, that year,
Brilliant.
and it was a great fight. It really was, and fair play to Eddie. He says that like that could have gone either way, and of course it was on a Highland promoted card, so I didn't expect to get any favors, and obviously Eddie won the fight, but I thought he was there, and he's a better boxer than me. I just thought I outdid him. I just felt like I kind of out toughed it out, but that's just the way things go. And he's a great guy. And anyway, so me and Eddie get on really well. And he's a really good family man now. And so we do keep in touch every now and again. We great fella. But that was another one. And then who else was the other 12 round against? Uh, I fought Paul Spadafora, who was a former world champion, and I got a split decision with him in his hometown on his promoted card. And I don't know how I lost that fight because I felt I knocked the shit out of him. He was more famous for. You probably still get on YouTube. This is the reason why Mayweather doesn't have his sparring sessions videoed anymore, or video sent out anymore, because Spadafora knocked the shit out of Mayweather in this particular spar, and
Right.
then but I had a really good fight against Spadafora, and I felt like I beat him up, and they gave him, well, one of the judges gave it to me, and two liquor judges gave it to him, and they were in his hometown. Yeah. Anyway,
And is
that's
that seems to be a
yeah.
problem throughout boxing. Like we've seen it with Michael Conlan and the Olympics. There's
Mm.
always it's favoritism, unfortunately, is
Yeah, and because obviously I hadn't got the background of being a boxer, like unlike the likes of Conan or maybe Bernard Dunn or somebody like that, who were brilliant amateur boxers and then went pro, and so they have a big following coming all the way up. I that wasn't the case for me, so I had to kind of build from nothing. But and but that comes as a disadvantage that you're not known within boxing circles, and hence you don't get any favoritism when it comes
right.
to the
And would
judges, I
you have been
suppose.
sort of frowned upon in the boxing world that didn't bother going
Eh,
for that, and just comes in and starts doing what you're doing?
no. Most people would say, "Fucking hell, how do you do that?" Like, because
Okay.
because that's not it's not the way to do things. Like, uh, particularly if I didn't have a boxing background, and then I'm still getting into the top 20 in the world, and fighting against world champions and having split decisions against world champions and stuff like that. that's kind of unheard of. Now, there's been a few uh, who have very limited amateur experience and then got to the levels like that and uh, won titles. And there are a few, but very few and far between. Like so, but unfortunately, I didn't win them. Like I split decisions were were as good as I got, like against the very top notch fighters. But that in itself, in their hometown, on their promoted card, it means that you won that fight. You're just unlucky that you weren't the home fighter. You know, that was
Right.
unfortunate, and it's a bit of a bane, the bane of my second experience. Like I my whole experience has been I'm happy that I'm in that boxing became my sport, and I love boxing. I love the people in boxing. Now the fighters particularly are great people. Like some of the promoters are a little bit dodge, but that's only that's only some of them. Some of them are really good guys, but at the end of the day, they're looking to line their pockets too, you know. But that's just the way it is, you know.
Did you become a coach or anything? Did you take anyone under your wing at any stage or do a bit of coaching with
Well,
some young guys
I'm a
or?
coach now. I'm a boxing development officer. So myself and Michael Carruth, who's an Olympic champion, Paul Quinn, who's with Glass Eleven Boxing Club, and Noel Burke, who's Kelly Harrington's trainer. He's out in Tala. Uh, but Kelly is one of his fighters.
Right.
We're the four boxing development officers in Dublin, and Ed Griffin was, and Tommy Ahern was as well. They left, but we. So I'm in. My areas are Finglas, Ballymun, Whitehall, and Santry. Carruth is out in Ringsend and Irish Town. Paul's in the north inner city, and uh, Noel is the Liberties around that area. So we're the four boxing officers. It's a collaboration between the IABA and the Boxing Ireland now and the Dublin City Council. And so we go around schools and basically our goal is to give kids another option of a different sport. Like obviously you have your guy, your soccer and all that in schools, and this is the first
Yeah.
time boxing has been a staple in the school now. So I've been it was some of my schools like the last 15 years, you know. So it's really
Brilliant.
it's a really worthwhile job, you know.
Yeah. And it's like I know it's the only sport really that Ireland always wins medals in boxing, but it
Mm.
always seems that the government never really puts money into it. It's like, well, they're going to win anyway. So we'll just
Yeah,
leave.
it's a weird one. Yeah, I think I think they've got a very skewed view of boxers in general. Like obviously they're where it's a working class sport,
Mm,
but there's a lot of smart dudes in boxing as well. Like whereas like you have there's guys who've got their degrees, there's lads who went to college, there's plenty of lads who are like the Crystals, for example, are the heads of of the Boxing Union of Ireland, and they were all lawyers. And there was, you know, what I mean? So there's plenty of very astute and good characters within boxing. But there's a few of them that give us a bad name, like you know, what I mean? Like so that's the unfortunate thing about like that. And the ones who give us a bad name give us a really bad name. So
I get you.
that's the way it goes. And to the point that they be involved in gangsterism and all that kind of shit, you know. So it's that's something that I'd veer away from, you know. But
And how do you
they give
find
it.
and how do you find the whole sort of the Jake Paul thing? Do you see that as a positive or a negative or
I used to think it was positive because it was kind of bums on seats and all eyes on boxing, which is great for the actual the amount of people who are actually watching the event, and then they and then maybe because of the drop off, then maybe a few people will get into it on the way down, kind of a trickle down kind of thing. But more like the more like it just feels like it's staged and it's and if you're not crass and giving people shite and talking nasty about somebody's wife and all that. It's just gone over the top, for in my opinion. You don't mind like the likes of like Muhammad Ali back in the day. He was the king of shit talk, really, but he never cursed once, and he was just really really clever and throwing out the slags left, right, and centre. He was brilliant. Uh, but then nowadays it's more like crass stuff, like calling out the wife it's just
Yeah.
not good stuff. Yeah.
It's
So I don't know where it started veering away. I think Mayweather was kind of somebody who didn't was maybe would have been one of the first to kind of give shite, and mean stuff rather than just talking about boxing.
yeah. Yeah. And then, like, even for your job, it's tough because I know RT don't even show the senior championships anymore. They always
Mm,
used to do that, and that's gone the
that's
last few
right.
years. And that was
Yeah,
the only
yeah,
one that
yeah,
was on, which is we're trying to promote it and get youngsters up.
yeah,
And
yeah.
I know in the Athlone Boxing Club they had a few guys fighting in it, and that was the pinnacle to see them fighting in the seniors. And
Mm.
but that's gone
Yeah,
now.
the elites, they call the elites nowadays, but yeah, yeah. I used to, like, even as a footballer back in the day, that would have been one of my staples. I'd have to watch the senior finals, like that. That'd
Yeah.
be a big thing. That be on RTE, and then that'd be the only little bit of promotion that a boxer would get is to be seen on the telly, like maybe once a year if you're any good, once every year for a few years. But like, yeah, it doesn't happen anymore. It's terrible. It ain't good.
Yeah. It's a
Although
hard.
there's a new fella in now in in my job. He's the CEO now, a fella called Gary Stewart, and he seems to have his wits about him. So maybe things will change.
Hopefully, yeah, because we're a great boxing nation. It's
Absolutely.
amazing, and
Mm.
it's great to see
Like
people like
we,
yourself.
we've got more than twice the medals of every other sport combined in the Olympics. So isn't that amazing? Like, just to think of that, or maybe that's changed now, but no. I think we're around that anyway.
And a lot of the boxing clubs are just small little places in
Yeah,
the back arse of nowhere with a few
yeah,
people. And
it's definitely to do with the Irish psyche. Like, I suppose that oppression back in the day that trickled down to different between generation, and that's why I think we're so tough, particularly. And and then Zor Anita was a big loss now. I think last year he retired, but there's
yeah,
a few lads he's taught well. Like, Brooke, one of my colleagues,
and
and
they're all on the
Benny.
high performance team. They're all part of that, are they?
Yes,
Yeah,
yeah. So, but he was brilliant coming in from Georgia, from the from the from the Eastern Bloc, and he really really knew his stuff. Uh, but I think he's passed a lot of his knowledge to some of the lads now. Hence, I think we're still one of the best boxing nations out there, even right now.
without a doubt. And your story was amazing. Like, you're from what you did from a guy playing soccer to needing a few pounds to becoming a professional fighter, and like that's a dream world stuff. Like, that's something that you dream about as a
Yeah,
young fella.
yeah. Like, I've written a book, and I'm in the middle of getting it published. Uh,
Brilliant.
Actually, but the publishers they went way too much for a lot of work that I put in. So I'm not gonna. I'm thinking I might even try to get self published now at this stage, because I don't. A lot of the publishers, I don't really they don't see the amount of work that I put in. So I don't
Absolutely, yeah.
know.
And that'll be some story. So when that book comes out, it'll be definitely a bestseller.
Yeah, yeah, I
And
hope so. Yeah.
and you're an inspiration as well. I mean, to show to people that you just do it.
But you can
Just
do these things. Yeah,
you,
yeah.
some people
Yeah,
might
true
think
that. Yeah.
that you have to go a certain route, but I suppose you had to do it out of necessity in a lot of ways.
Yes. Yeah.
Was the plan, but it
Mm.
just goes to show
So
when you have a good
yeah,
mindset.
Yeah, yeah, and it is also to do with mindset. Really, it's like I had a great family now behind me, so that's a huge thing as well. I can see that if I didn't have my my family and good family and friends, so you have to surround yourself with good people. But my family, thank God, are the best, I've and if I ever was really stuck, I can always go back to my family and they'll sort me out. It's great. Now at that time when I was going in between houses and cars and stuff like that, I knew that I was I was more treating it as an adventure because I knew that if I had a talk to my parents about it, they would have sorted something out. But yeah, it was just I was getting too old to be relying on mommy and daddy, and it's the way it worked for me. So I just said I have to just cop on now and just start doing my own stuff.
And, and look where you ended up.
Worked out
Amazing.
well.
Amazing
Worked out
stuff.
well, yeah.
Absolutely. Oisin, I'm
Yeah,
going to let you go because I know you have to go to work and do stuff,
yeah.
but an absolute pleasure. Your
You too,
story
man.
is amazing, and I hope it inspires a lot more people to see that. Look, just if you've got a bit of attitude, that you can do anything really. Um,
Yeah, it's
and so yeah, I
proper.
look forward to reading your book.
Thank you, man.
Yeah,
Thank you. Appreciate it. Okay.
I really look forward
Cheers,
to it.
Darren.
And
Mate. God bless.
yeah,
Thank you.
and we'll talk to you soon. I'll be in touch. Take care, Oisin, and thank you
Nice.
for your time.
Yeah, man.